Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerfherder Council.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Nerfherder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and not only our Facebook and YouTube, but also the Facebook and YouTube of the Virtual Cantina Network. We are also live on the Nerfherder Council Twitch page. I'm a little flustered, guys. It's Star Wars Celebration Ticket Day. AJ and I have a big story to talk about where that's concerned in a minute, but before we get there, don't forget that if you are watching on our YouTube channel or that of the Virtual Cantina Network, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and smash that notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. As always, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. If you would like to get Virtual Cantina Network swag, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina. And if you would like to get some kick-ass customizable Nerfherder Council swag, just go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. Without further ado, let me bring on I usually introduce him as, my best friend, which he is, my co-host, which he is. Tonight, I'm going to introduce him as the savior of the Nerfherder Council's trip to Star Wars Celebration 2027. He is my younger brother, AJ, and he is someone who celebrated his birthday, I would say 3 days ago. He turned 47 years old, so it's like a birthday episode. It's a celebratory episode, no pun intended. AJ, you can do the graphics back to where they were. Welcome to the show, man. AJ, let's just get right to it here. Today is Revenge of the 6th, depending on what all those things you want to, do. I'm a little flustered because today was very, very hectic. As everyone knows, today was the day that Star Wars Celebration 2027 tickets
went on sale. Stop right there. Sorry. I think you're assuming a bit much that everybody knows today was the day that Star Wars Celebration tickets went on sale. That is very much a hardcore Star Wars nerd sort of thing to know.
That is not true.
And a subset of that. Celebration itself is a subset of the subset.
Yeah, no. Normally we could say that. I will. Let's go online right now to Star Wars Celebration and see. Let's see if we can just go in and buy some tickets. Let's see what happens here. I have a feeling it's not going to go well. Let's just try to buy some Friday tickets. Yeah, I'm now in queue.
By the way, I should have made a prop bet because I actually put an over-under today on how many minutes of the show that is supposed to be about the Maul season review that you were going to spend talking about Celebration instead.
Okay, well, we're definitely doing the Maul season review, okay? But, dude, there are people still stuck in queue for Star Wars Celebration tickets. Let's just, all right, look, Kale, I can't believe I have to tell this story. So, Kale McLeish, great to see you. He says, so John did not get tickets, but AJ was the hero of the day.
Okay. I'm going to stop everybody who might be thinking about the Metallica song right now. Do not put that evil on us, okay?
I was just about to say, Kale, don't do that. You know how much I can't stand those records.
I just heard Unforgiven 2 on the radio the other day. I was so disappointed.
Yeah, it's because you don't need a part 2. All right, so yeah, John did not get Star Wars Celebration tickets. Let me tell my side of the story, AJ. So, yeah, this was like the biggest wait list for Star Wars Celebration tickets today of any celebration there's been. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, but thanks to our amazing friends at the Virtual Cantina Network, which is, honestly, AJ, we're not just saying this because we're on the network, and because we're friends with the mods and everything. They are the biggest Star Wars fan group for Star Wars Celebration that there is. It's the biggest one. And so they've been posting, here's how you get tickets here, here's what happens at Celebration. Like, here's, you could do this, buy merch here, all these kinds of things. So the demand of, you got sweet. I've got iced tea. I don't have
I've got Celebration merch that I'm drinking out of.
I don't have anything nearly as cool as that. But yeah, so I mean, the Virtual Cantina Network, they are the biggest, like all kidding aside, like the biggest fan network online for Star Wars Celebration. And so the fan demand was absolutely through the roof. And when you go online, you basically get into a virtual queue and you're basically waiting in line, and it's handled at random. So of course, I mean, AJ, you can speak to this. Whenever AJ and I have gone to Celebration, I'm the one, not that this will surprise anyone, who is, I'll get the tickets. I'm going to get in line. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to do this. Like we're going to be on like the first second. AJ's like, dude. Oh, by the way, there might be bad language on the show, and the views of the Nerfherder Council might not reflect those of the Virtual Cantina Network. Also, the spoilers from Maul. So AJ's like, dude, fucking calm down. We'll get tickets, whatever. So today, the email comes out for tickets to Celebration, and I'm signed up, and I know this is unprofessional, but on my work email address, on my personal email addresses. So as soon as it came through at about, I would say between like 1:10 and 1:15 p.m. Eastern time, I was on 4 devices, and they didn't go on sale till 3:00. So I was on, close to 2 hours ahead of time, and I was in the virtual queue, whatever. And AJ and I are texting, and he's like, all right, cool, you got this, whatever. Like, it's a normal kind of thing. And by the way, AJ, got to bring this up. Aiken says, great to see you, Aiken, by the way. Just a comment. Bravo, AJ, in this layout. That looks extremely amazing. Yes, I agree. Aiken,
my Photoshop skills came in handy. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tri-C.
Nice.
I went to community college.
There it is. So I log in, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, like when you actually officially get in line is 3 p.m. our time. So I'm on these 4 devices, and AJ's like, you got this? I'm like, yeah, we're texting, and he just decides at 2:59 p.m. So 1 minute before it goes live that he's going to get in the queue. So I'm sitting there, I'm on my phone, I'm on my tablet, I'm on my work computer, and I'm on my personal computer. And the walking man, as everyone knows, like anyone who's ever tried to get tickets knows, it's basically when you get in the queue, there's a little dude who's like walking, and it's kind of like your status bar as to how close you are to getting into the room. And mine is just dragging on all 4 devices. AJ's texting me, and he's saying he's sending me pictures. And I'm like, man, you are way ahead of me. And he's way ahead of me. And I'm refreshing the Virtual Cantina Network Facebook page, and people are like, oh, this sold out, that sold out, this. I'm like, son of a bitch. And we're in there for a good 50 minutes, right? And I'm going, we're never going to get in here. But AJ's, little walking man is further and further along. And finally, I'm like, this isn't going to work. Like, oh my God, like the 4-day passes are sold out. The Jedi Master passes are sold out. And I get a text from AJ, and it's a confirmation of sale. So I was in there on 4 devices 2 hours early. AJ gets in there as what the hell? Because AJ, back me up here. You weren't planning on getting in the queue. You were just going to be like, JT's got it. Yeah. Had AJ not made that decision, we wouldn't be going to Celebration. So we did not get 4-day passes, because there's Jedi Master passes, which are like $1,200, and they're really not worth it. No offense to anybody who is watching and wanted a Jedi Master pass. But basically, the best part about it is getting into the panels. Like, you get into every single panel in the front row. You don't got to worry about like the lottery based on your email address. So we weren't worried about that. But a 4-day pass is great, because it's a single pass for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, those were sold out when AJ got in there. And so we got individual passes for single day passes for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So thankfully those were still there. So the long and short of it is, AJ, as I said, is the savior. We have Star Wars Celebration tickets in Los Angeles in 2027. So, holy shit, man. If you can't tell, I'm a little riled up. I have been, sorry for my language, I've been shitting my pants for like a solid month worried about getting these tickets, man, because the demand is going up and up and up and up. And everybody's hearing about Celebration. The words gotten out. And, you know, it was always easy for us to get tickets. And now all of a sudden it's not. So had you not made the decision to take a little bit of time out of your day when you had other things to do, dude, we would not be going to Celebration. And we've been to every single Star Wars Celebration stateside except for the first 4. So as I've told you many times today, thank you so very much, man. That's huge.
Yeah, dude. Okay. One little bit of chatter about this, and we got to get on to Maul because there's so much to talk about.
100%.
Yeah, the one thing that does rile me up, and we will talk about this at some other point, and we'll get on the Celebration talk. We get a whole year before the event itself. Well, 11 months at this point, actually, which is cool. But anyway, yeah. So I got in the checkout. Jedi Master Pass is already gone. Okay, fine. But 4-day passes were still there. By the time I had clicked the plus button twice and gone to checkout, it's like, nah, I can't do that. We don't have 2 tickets. I'm like, okay. Do we have 1 ticket? No. What the hell? Like, they've got to fix that where you can load stuff into the cart that can't actually be purchased. Because that was super frustrating. I thought that I was all excited at first. I'm like, I got in, we got tickets, and then I couldn't get the 4-day passes. I'm like, oh my God, are we going to get shut out? And I was like furious, like as fast as I could. I'm like, click Thursday, click Friday, click Saturday, click Sunday. All right, check out. Okay, we have 4 1-day passes for 2 people. All right, LFG.
I'm going to be honest. I was a little nervous because
I wasn't sending you updates. I was too busy.
Dude, like, you haven't been nearly as riled up as I have been. And you know, pulling the curtain back, you and I are both equivalent fans, but you have more patience than I do. You're much more Jedi and I'm much more Sith. And you're like, I could see us not getting tickets and you going, well, you know, dude, we've been to so many.
We've had a good run.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like, you know, Sam Witwer, no. So I was like, that's why I was texting you, like, oh, get the tickets, like, if you get the single day tickets, do this and don't forget this. Like, I'm in a panic. Like, what if he gets in there and he goes, I'm not gonna do it? I'd be like, oh, son of a bitch. Oh my gosh. So
CKL knows it.
Yes.
I'm in the room. Deep breath. Hold it. Click. You're in. Breathe out.
Right. Look at this. So Joseph Wren, great to see you. He says, you're more patient than I am. JT 2026. Yes. And Joseph Wren, but have you lined up the hotel yet? Yes, we have. We have done both. I am not at liberty to talk about our hotel hookup. But yeah, we being you know, it's to you know, let's just say Mel Brooks, AJ, it's good to be the king. So there we go. So yes, yeah. So long story short, guys, we got Celebration tickets, and as AJ said, and we're gonna get to Maul in just a quick second. Reed Pop has got to fix part of this because the one thing that is awful, and I feel so bad because, guys, literally, if you go on and try and buy tickets right now, there are still people in queue to get Celebration tickets, and they went on sale. What is it, AJ? 5.5 hours ago.
Celebrations are built on hope.
Yeah. But yeah, when you put the tickets in your cart, it's not like when you go to a baseball game or a concert or something where it says, okay, these are on hold for you until you check out, but you've got 10 minutes to do it. No, it's all right. They're in your cart. And if you don't type fast enough, you don't get your tickets. They have to fix that. because I know there, and I saw it posted online all over the place. There were so many fans that missed out because they were trying to order other things, and their first time, celebration attendees, and they honestly thought that they were just going to get their tickets because it was in their cart, and that's not how it works. So ReedPop has got to fix that because it is so unfair. And thank God AJ and I knew about it, because like we both knew, like, as fast as you can, Google Pay, credit card, whatever you can do that. And unfortunately, a lot of people lost out because of that. So hopefully a bunch of people watching got their tickets. But I think one thing everybody watching, I think what they've all done, AJ, is watch Maul Shadow Lord. And if you have not, guys, real quick, again, we are going to have spoilers on the show. So if you have not seen the full show, we will talk spoilers. AJ did ask, though, that we do them later in the show. So AJ, if you'd like to do non-spoiler first, then just let us know, all of us, because I need to know as your co-host, when we're going to start talking spoilers, so I can, I know to shut up, and then I know when to not shut up. So,
well, I it's not so much a non-spoiler policy. It's more of a let's work chronologically. Okay. Because I know we want to talk about how it ended, but just like the show, we've got to get there. So we can start with general thoughts and like step through the events of the show and whatnot, and then that'll give us a good setup for the back half where we really want to talk about that finale.
Okay.
Which I will start with right there. When they revealed the episode list and they listed all the titles, they finally learned from the Qui-Gon's Noble End gaffe on the Phantom Menace soundtrack that came out before episode 1. They simply listed the title of the 10th episode as the finale. Right. Which, of course, was not the title of the episode, but had they given the real title, that would have not ruined the whole season, but it would have come close, right?
Yes. By the way, look at Kale. Dude, let's just get into it. I got to leave for work in an hour. All right, well, dude, Kale, you could look, Kale, I know you're not, like riding to work on a bike or something. You can listen in the car, and don't worry, we're getting to it right now. So trust us, Kale. We're getting to it. So, all right, you lead chronologically. That way I know when I can give spoilers and when I can't. So,
well, let's just talk general thoughts, okay? Because I've noticed that now that, especially in the Disney era, that Star Wars itself, like the shows and the stories they're telling, have kind of diverged. Mm-hmm. Like rather than trying to appeal, they learned finally from the sequel trilogy. You don't try to appeal to everybody with one thing. So they're kind of going more niche, right? Like they've got Visions for the anime fans. They've got, Kenobi for the prequel fans. They've got the Acolyte for nobody. They've got Skeleton Crew for kids of the 80s. So this show is very stylized, and it's very much in the lineage of the Clone Wars. So okay. Did you like the animation? Did you like the progression of the style from like Clone Wars through to Bad Batch through to Maul?
Yeah, I mean, are we talking? Are you talking strictly just the animation style, or?
Yeah, like if you look at our layout here tonight, you see like there's a whole lot of like brushstrokes and craziness going on. So it's like it's still very much in the Clone Wars style, but there's a lot more stylization going on here. And they actually said they worked with paint. They actually scanned in paint brush strokes and applied those as textures on the models because they really wanted this sort of like sketchy concept arty kind of look to things.
Well, I love it personally. I think my only question is like, I wonder how the average fan looks at it, because you and I, you especially, are like of an artistic mind. I took a shitload of art classes, in high school and early in college. Like, obviously, I mean, your whole degree is in art. So for us, it's like we're watching Star Wars, but we notice these things like, oh, that's cool. This is cool. Like in terms of the stylistic choices and whatnot. So, but I do notice them. It is a little, I hate to use this word, but garish. So I wonder what the average fan is looking at. Like, is the average fan going, okay, like this isn't like your standard cartoon? I guess I hate to, it's so hard to use that, but you know what I'm getting at? Like, is it distracting for the average fan who's not into stuff like you and I are, where we're like, we're into the story, but also noticing the artistic aspects of it. Like, I love it. I think it's awesome, but I wonder how some people will react to it. I mean,
so what stood out to you most visually about the show?
I think it was another step forward animation wise based on the shows that they've done. I did notice it looked a little grainier, so yeah, excellent, like what you just mentioned, like the paint strokes and all that kind of the brush strokes, excuse me. So I noticed that. I mean, they really are like kind of it's like it looks better, but more artsy. So I think it's kind of cool, and to me, making it more and again, I'm using such generic terms, so I apologize, guys. If any of you guys are tuning in for the first time, AJ's the well-spoken one. I'm the jackass. Um, um, I love that they're doing that. It's almost like a juxtaposition, you know, like the writing gets better, the quality of the animation gets better, but yet there's those things like you said, like it looks a little rougher around the edges purposely. Like it's almost like instead of just trying to, you know, like with the Mandalorian, they're using the volume and it's like, let's, you know, make things more crisp and clear. Let's, you know, go back to old school Star Wars, but it still looks like so pristine. It almost feels like shows like this, they're trying to, no, let's push the envelope of actual art while we're increasing the quality of how it looks in terms of, you know, 4K and pixelation and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, like detail and emotion, but let's also make it like an art project. You know, it's pretty cool, I think. So I think it's really progressing Star Wars in multiple ways that I really enjoy. So
I noticed that the animation was much more fluid. Like I know it's not fair to compare to like early Clone Wars episodes. We're talking 20 years of progression in animation and technology, much of which was done, you know, by Lucasfilm Animation. But
yeah,
like, you know, you watch those early lightsaber duels and whatnot from like 2008, 2009, and they're just wooden, right? Like it's the most basic. It looks like almost like Toy Story, like the early Toy Story movies, where it was just, yes, there was motion, but there was not a whole lot of realistic motion, and all the, you know, you just tell when something looks like janky and CG and something looks like organic. Yeah. I mean, even as recently as like season 7 of the Clone Wars, when they got Ray Park back in to do motion capture for Darth Maul's duel with Ahsoka. And even though the animation had gotten amazing by that point, because even season 7 was even itself like 5 years removed or more from, or almost 10 at that point, from the previous seasons of Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. So even the CG lightsaber duels, there was still something that was like a level up once you actually had a real person that they were mapping onto that CG model for those fights and whatnot. But then this show comes along and it's as fluid as human motion almost to me. Like there's a couple things that there's still a little bit of like stiffness to CG models, but did you notice that like when they were like just nuanced movements and fight choreography was like so much more, like I said, organic, I guess. Like they've managed to smooth out the rough edges of CG animation and make it much more lifelike, I think that helped out a lot. Did you notice that at all?
No. I'm going to bring up a couple chat comments and then we're going to get into our first argument of the show. Kale McLeish says it was like distorted Clone Wars. I thought it was great. Joseph Wren, great to see you, bro. He says the kids love when animated things become comic bookish nowadays. Like most trends, it's being overdone a bit, but I don't think this show overdid it. I left my phone back in my recliner and I took some notes, and one of the notes was, no, I am not a fan of what they've done with the lightsaber battles. It looks video gamey. Everything is to skip jump, skip jump, skip jump. It's way too fast. They've slowed down other aspects of the show, and other shows as well. To make it gets closer and closer to like live action, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But I disagree with you on the lightsaber battles. It's like jump, flip, jump, flip. It's like a video game, and it's like where it's not as realistic as it could be. It's a little too like, how do I phrase this? Like I actually, I'll use the word you use, fluid. I don't think it's fluid. It's everything's too fast, and maybe they're trying to make, especially in this show, maybe they're trying to make up for the fact that Maul got killed in 1.8 seconds in that shitty lightsaber battle. I don't know, but oh wait, that was fast too. What am I thinking? Anyway, Jeff Caffrey, great to see you, bro. One of our famous mods. The animation, he says, the animation has evolved a long way since the Clone Wars movie. Yes, completely agree with you. Kale says, I thought that made it feel ultra visceral. Kale, I can see where you're coming from, and I can see where AJ's coming from. I'm sorry, but to me, it's the one thing that has not progressed. It's still very jump, like Spider-Man, Ninja Gaiden kind of video game graphic shit when they're doing the battles. It's awesome to watch, don't get me wrong, but if they're trying to progress like in terms of realism, I think that's where they need to kind of, I would say, slow things down. If I were in the production room, which I never will because I'm a fat bastard and I do dumb shit like this, I just think it's a little quick. I think it's a little quick. Jesse, by the way, Jesse Cole, great to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Says, I love the contrast of a slow burn show with intense saber fights. You're not wrong, Jesse, and AJ, you aren't. And anybody who is into the fights, I'm not disagreeing. The fights themselves are amazing. That's a whole nother thing. It's just the way that they're animated. It's too pop, 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 pop. I don't think it is fluid like you do. So
I could see that, because you take the style of lightsaber duels from the Clone Wars and, well, not really in the Bad Batch. We literally didn't have lightsaber duels in the Bad Batch. But like the tales of the Jedi and like just the evolution of the Clone Wars style in general. And they were always like, to your point, like they were always like, you would snap through the motion and then freeze on a keyframe, which keyframe is a animation term. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, JT, but basically like
vaguely.
In animation. So in animation terms, it goes back to like old Looney Tunes and stuff like that, old Disney cartoons too, where like the best artists, the high ranking artists would get to draw the most important poses. And then they would have what's called tweeners, which are all the frames that move from one key pose to the next. So the frame that you want to hold on that is most like iconic of the movement, that's called a keyframe. So like if it was a punch, it would be like the wind up back here. This is great for our audio viewers. And then the follow through up in the front. Like those would be the two key frames. Like if you want to communicate the movement in as few images as possible, it's the wind up and the follow through. Now, all the other stuff in the middle of like fist coming forward and connecting and moving through to the final pose, that's all like the lesser animators got that stuff. That's how they worked their way up the ranks. They paid their dues that way. And Clone Wars animation style was very much like, we've got the keyframe, rush through the motion, let's hit the other keyframe. Like it was like you said, it's like a blur and then an image that like freezes in your mind for a second. So you don't really see like how they get from one to the other. And I think that's probably a budget thing, because it's a lot cheaper if you move quickly because you have less frames to get from one to the other, which means less money spent on animation.
Okay.
Because that's what I was thought in the Clone Wars was like the movement itself was like a blur. It was way too fast to correspond to the movies, right? Like the CG models can move a lot faster than the humans can, even Ray Park. So it was always like amped up to 11 a little bit. It
was basically the Jedi Force, like the move that they did in Episode 1.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Like, get out of here! Like, wait, where the fuck did you just go?
right, exactly. So that's always kind of been the style, and I feel like they keep amping it up from its previous bar. So it's like escalation. So yeah, I could see how that would be the case in this for you, where you're like, you know what? Now it's so far away from reality because they took a stylized version of reality and then stylized it and stylized it and stylized it. So you got a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and you end up here.
Yeah.
But I did see in the comments though. Sorry, we've got some good chats going on tonight. It's all the way up here.
We always have good chats going on. What are you saying? I'm looking.
Oh yeah. So back to Jesse's comment. I love the contrast of slow burn show with intense saber fights.
Okay.
I feel like the fights themselves were like that too. Where like, yes, if the movements were fast movements, they would be like super fast. But then there was also little nuances where like I noticed, a couple frames where like Devin, the Padawan, had like hurt her wrist or something, right? And so she like hit a strike and then like be like force pushed back, and then she had this little like, and she would just like wiggle her wrist a little bit in the middle of a lightsaber fight, which is like this little nuance that a real person would do if they were injured in a fight for a quick second. But like to bother with doing that in animation, I was like, holy crap, this show is so detailed in like what it's trying to communicate. I feel like everything that mattered in the vibe of the show was cranked up to 11.
Well, I completely agree with that. And I want to get real quick another one of our mods, one of the creators of the Virtual Cantina Network, our good friend John Chiato. Great to see you, man. We'll officially be seeing you next year. So, John Chiato says the strikes are very fast and flashy, and and I agree with that. I think it's just the presentation of them. And AJ, one of my notes, I wish if I hadn't left my phone across the room, I agree with you in terms of the realism of it. I think this show gets even closer to kind of like bridging that gap between the live action stuff and the animated stuff. Did I really just the animated stuff? What kind of a
hey, we're live. It's okay.
Wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Can't wait to see you guys. Can't wait to see you too, man. I promise I'm not going to roll on Spencer's bed, but I may have some bourbon in tow for you. So there you go. We'll talk dogs, bro. Love you. Like I think it's doing a great job of kind of bridging that gap between the live action stuff and the animated stuff. I think the animated stuff is feeling less animated, and I think it's because of the art style. I think it's because of the quality of the animation, as you said. As much as I think these fights, as we were talking about right now, like the pop, they're moving a little too not as, I would say they're not as fluid as you feel they are. I do think it looks great. The writing is fantastic. And one thing that I noticed is they are, and I don't know if you noticed this, but sound effects wise, they're bringing stuff in from the movies.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I haven't caught that with any of the other animated shows, but I know there was one, one of the, I think it was the 9th episode, I want to say, but when they were like, there's that crazy fight on the bridge and whatnot, and the biker scout goes over the side of the bridge, and they have that that I'm like, dude, that is so out of the movie.
There are some sound effects where they're in the library and they just throw them in to entertain themselves. Like,
yes, but isn't that awesome? Doesn't that, like, I don't know about you, but like, that's one of the things I loved about it, is that like the show is new. I think that the writing is phenomenal, but it is new, and there's going to be some fans that are a little hesitant to get into the animation stuff. Like my wife, for example, she wants to watch, but she's like, I don't know, I'm not into the whole cartoon thing. And I'm like, it's not a cartoon. I know where you're coming from, dude. Our buddy Chris Mocked from Mock Tales from the Cantina, huge shout out to him. He is not a fan of the animated stuff that much, but so I think like stuff like these sound effects that I'm mentioning can really, I really think they bridge that gap, and I think that that's some amazing forethought on the part of Filoni and all the writers to kind of do that and say, hey, let's kind of bring these other people in, because as stupid as it sounds, if you hear like I said, you know me. You pay way more attention to those sort of details than I do. But I noticed, I'm like, dude, that's from Return of the Jedi. Like, yeah. And immediately for the next like 2 minutes, I was like, that's cool. So I got through 2 more minutes of the show, like kind of amped up. So I think it's very, very intelligent on their part to do that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that little connective tissue. I mean, obviously the people working on the show, if we think that Star Wars fans are obsessed with details, obviously the people making the show are even more obsessed.
Yeah.
So they've got that whole sound library, and I like it sometimes. The way they did it in this show, I like, because it was all like new settings and characters. In previous animated stuff, like I still don't know why the hell we are still leaning on the same like 17 Chewbacca sounds that Ben Burt made back in the day. Like, can no one make a new Wookiee sound instead of just like remixing? Same thing with R2. But
no, wait a minute. But wouldn't you notice? I mean, come on. Let's be. I agree with you. Like, okay, like maybe they're overused, but come on. You and I both, if we're sitting there in the theater and there's Chewbacca on the screen or R2 on the screen, and we heard something different, wouldn't you look over at me and I'd look over you and go, That's not Chewbacca. That's not R2. What are they doing?
Well, no, and that's my point. Totally, this is totally off topic, by the way. But like in The Force Awakens,
Sorry,
or in the movies, they do like they didn't just rehash Chewbacca's sound effects for 7, 8, 9. They made new Chewbacca sound effects. But in the animated shows, it's always like, oh, I can hear exactly that you like reversed this or you spliced this one with that one, and like you didn't write new Wookiee sounds. You just remixed Chewbacca, hoping no one would notice. And same thing with R2. Like, how many times have you heard the R2 shriek? And every time something happens, or the wind up to the overload from A New Hope, where they face plant. Like, that is used in so many things. And this show was better about it because the sound effects that they rehashed that you noticed were like not the same context. So at least it's not like R2 making the same sound again. It's like, oh, well, okay, a stormtrooper got wasted in this one movie, and when one of the TK troopers got shot in this cartoon, they decided to make the same sound. Okay, I like that. Right. That's a callback. That's like an Easter egg almost, right? Like, what movie was that death from? Like,
No, I agree. I just,
like, I'm still waiting for your hey to make it in.
Well, I was trying not to bring that one up, but that's always the one. There's going to come a time we're going to be in the movie theater.
They're going to put it in there.
Someone's going to go, hey, and I'm going to sit next to you. I'm going to be grabbing you. Dude. And you're going to go, I get it. Oh, come on.
Right.
Go, Joseph Friend, that's for you. There's an old school throwback. Yeah. No, I mean, you're not wrong. Back to the original point, I think it's awesome that they bring that stuff in.
They also took some of the sounds and amped them up, though. Again, talking about like style for this show. You're a sound guy, you do music and everything. Did you notice anything about the sound design itself that kind of stood out to you as different in this show? To me, it felt like, especially like the sabers had a much more like rumble or a vibe. They sound, it's ridiculous to say this, but they sounded sharper. Like more like, oh my God, that will cut the shit out of anything.
Ginsu knives of the universe.
Right.
I would agree with you. I when I was listening to them, I hate to use this term because, and it's very subtle in what they're doing, but I was like, it felt more meaty. Like when someone blocked a saber, it wasn't just like Vader or Palpatine or whoever, like one of the Jedi, like in the movies, excuse me, the Clone Wars would block a saber, like okay, like it felt chintzy. Like, no, this was like a whoomp, like you said, they added some low end to it. They added some you said I'm into something like a whomp to it, like and it really felt like that was something happening because Devin did a lot of defensive maneuvers in the show, and against Maul and other things. And
this Padawan knows some maneuvers.
She's just listening lazily to the left. But yeah, I mean, like it didn't feel like, because let's face it, she's a teenager, she's a Padawan, and with crappy sound effects, it would literally sound like like when she's battling Maul, like pling pling pling, like but no, it was like a whomp whomp, like it was okay. There's some stakes to this, and I agree with you. So it sounded better. I think I would say what I noticed is that the sound was more aggressive in this show.
Great word. Exactly.
It was like again, but I think that's them getting closer to the live action stuff. And that's really an overarching thing for me in this show is that these animated series that they're putting out are getting closer and closer to the live action stuff. Like, and again, I hate to bring up my wife, but she's really a barometer because Steph, my wife, she loves Star Wars, but she's not into the animated stuff. She's like, I just can't get into it, but the live action stuff she'll watch. But I think that, the animated stuff keeps getting closer and closer to a level of quality and presentation to where a fan like her will go, you know what, I'm going to watch that quote unquote cartoon. And I think this is the ultimate example. And I'm trying to think.
And maturity. I would say maturity, because I was watching this going like, this is not a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
There are a couple deaths in here, like shot in the face, like, oof.
Yep. I was
just chuck your lightsaber, bisect a few TK troopers. Why not? Like,
right.
Not for 7-year-olds.
Yes, dude. I was actually just about to bring up the fact that I read online. Someone said that this is like an animated combination of Obi-Wan, Kenobi, and Andor, in terms of like storytelling, in terms of like maturity. And I know you're not a Kenobi fan. I won't even bother to deride you for that again.
There's good in every series though, so keep going.
Yeah, but I thought that was an awesome description of it, because I feel like Kenobi was more to the point. It was more in your face. It was bright and colorful and this kind of thing. I loved it. You were way more attracted to Andor than I was, like the slow burn, the storytelling, like the expanding of the world. And when I saw someone say that this show is like an animated version of a combination of Kenobi and Andor, I was like, yeah, that actually makes sense to me. And
I can see that. Yeah, there's a little bit of the not lightheartedness, but the goofiness, or it doesn't take itself too seriously in some ways, but in other ways it's like dark as hell and brooding. I would say that it doesn't take itself too seriously. That would be more of a Kenobi vibe. Like Star Wars is goofy at its heart, right? Like it's just weird. Yes. It's space wizards with laser swords. Come on now. Yes. And that's the Kenobi vibe. But then there's also the like, let's do a deep introspection of this evil person and find out why they're evil and what makes them tick. Well, that's more Andor.
Yes. By the way, Kale did say you're freaking out your camera right now, John. Apparently I blipped for a second. So John Chiato has a question real quick. He says, did Lawson see Maul push Master Daki?
Okay, so we're going to get into story points.
Yes. Let's address that. Let's address that, but real quick, Kale does have a good point. Being that we're talking about the Maul show, maybe you should pronounce Kenobi differently. Kenobi. There we go. Actually, AJ, you're way better at this than I am. So, you can do the Sam Witwer, right?
Vaguely. I really don't practice at this, but also, when did Maul become a Brit? Like, I know that Sam's interpretation of the character is stylized from, I don't even remember the name of the voice actor from Phantom Menace, but it seems to be getting like more Imperial. Like it's getting closer to Tarkin every time he plays the character, right?
Right.
I'll be following you much more closely. Like,
yes.
Closely, you mean? No, closely? Okay, it's closely.
It's like a singer. Closely.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd like to call myself out on something, and then we'll get to the story stuff. So you guys may have noticed at the bottom of the screen, we do have a ticker earlier. I do want to apologize for anybody who was worried that there would be spoliers in the show. We did not present any spoliers, but there will be spoilers. So yeah, I'm going to call myself out on that awesome typo that's going out for tens of people to see.
Hey, we all love a good tipio.
Spoliers. I forget what you were saying, and I looked down and I went, "Oh, son of a bitch! There's a typo in the." Joseph Friend, this one's for you. It's 2 in the same show. Oh, come on!
Good one.
Yeah. All right. So story.
Next one for the soundboard. Yeah. So let's talk story. So we've got basically like not a spy drama, but a crime thriller kind of a thing.
Yes.
Do you like the genre? Like Star Wars has gone like genre lately, you know, where like The Mandalorian is full Western. And now we've got this crime drama, this film noir kind of aesthetic, right? With the seedy detective down on his luck. He just needed a dame to walk into his office on the wrong day, you know, with Lawson.
I'm going to dumb it down. I'm going to dumb it down even further because I do remember one of my main notes. Maul Shadow Lord, story-wise, is of equal quality to Star Wars Revenge of the Sith.
Interesting. Yeah, elaborate.
So going into Revenge of the Sith, as I've said many, many times on the show, what I loved about the presentation was the fact that you knew where it was going to end, and it would have been so easy. You know, you can say this about the whole prequel trilogy, but for me, especially Revenge of the Sith. Oh, you know, Anakin was jerk little kid. Then he was a bratty teenager. Then all of a sudden he could have just been, oh, I'm an evil guy. Just, you know, okay, he's a bad guy, worst guy. Instead, there were like emotional stakes there. You know, it was not just, oh, I want to be evil. It's like he's trying to save Padme. Like he's trying to be good. And in doing so, he just, you know, does it in all the wrong ways. And I think in this show, I think when everybody sees it announced that, hey, the next Star Wars show, it's Maul, Shadow Lord, you're expecting, oh, it's just going to be Maul being an asshole, killing people. And okay, how are we going to get to him fighting? How are we going to get to the point of, you know, him at the end of Solo, and, you know, him, you know, at that shitty 1.8 second battle in Rebels against Obi-Wan, like, how are we getting
that? Was the question, right? Like, how do you base a whole series around a villain?
Yeah. And what they did was they took it and they're expanding on the character, and they're doing it in such a way where it's not, I'm evil. And to me, it's also, that's a catch-22, which we'll get to later. But I love the fact that it's, okay, they're broadening the character. And it's a very interesting way to do it. It's, you know, they bring some Jedi into it, so it's not just Maul's the most powerful fucker in the room, no matter what. You know, I thought it was. I mentioned writing earlier in the show a few times, and I did that very deliberately. This is incredibly well written. It's a very intelligent story. I love what they did with this.
So again, what struck you most?
Again, it felt to me like Episode 3, where, you know, you know where Maul ends up. You know who he actually is at his heart, but you're seeing this different way of getting there. You're seeing that there's more to it than just he's evil, keeps getting more evil, keeps getting more evil. Oh, you know, all of a sudden, no, you know, Obi-Wan Kenobi kills him in 1.8 seconds. You know, there's nuances to it, to the character, to the story. And I love that. I thought that was awesome. And the reason I say it's a catch-22 is because I do feel that sometimes it would be kind of cool if they did have a story like that, where they have a Star Wars asshole and he just is an asshole the whole way through. You know,
he's called Palpatine.
Okay, well, yeah, but then let's have a Palpatine show that just shows him murdering people all the way through, and like he goes out to like Burger King, and, you know, he orders his burger plain like I do. He's at Space Burger King, and he was like, I would like that with nothing but cheese, please. And then he gets it, and it's got onions, and he's like, and he just kills the burger worker guy, you know. And it's just like, you know, like he just, nothing good happens. He's just an a-hole, becomes a bigger a-hole, and off we go. So there's that, you know. And also to me, it's like, I mean, they're every once in a while I wonder, are they trying too hard to show nuance in too many characters? You know, because all the shows kind of seem to be getting to that point where it's like, oh wait, he's not that bad. oh wait, she's not that good. So it is a catch-22, but I think but I'm not complaining. I'm just wondering. So I think
that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point because I feel like you brought up a point earlier about, it would be boring if Maul was just the bad guy and then he was a worse guy and then he was the worst guy, right? Like we already know he's a bad guy. There's nothing interesting about showing that he could be even more evil.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't steer further into the evil direction, I guess you kind of have to steer towards the not outright empathy, but understanding. And like, he's kind of a pitiful character, don't you think? Like, he was discarded. He was just a tool, a means to an end in episode 1. And then he got cut in half, and Palpatine is like, all right, I'll just get another one. Whatever. I can find an apprentice anywhere. I get an apprentice by 1 p.m. You want? No problem.
Forget about the fucking apprentice.
Right.
I'm saying, I'm enjoying my calf. Enjoying my calf.
Finally, we got a Lebowski Star Wars crossover.
Yes, I did it.
Especially in this show, because they're always drinking calf. Even the droids are drinking calf or pretending to.
Exactly right.
But yeah, no, like Maul is like, I love Maul's existence period after episode 1, because it's like, okay, we all thought based on episode 1 that he was going to be the big bad of the prequel trilogy, and then he gets, that's the worst cutting in half I ever seen.
Now we got to do a Cox reference. I love it.
Right. So we thought he was, out after episode 1, and then he shows back up in the Clone Wars, and what a great premise. This idea of like, all right, so this guy was discarded. He was sent in basically to kill and or be killed. And both things happened in episode 1. He offed Qui-Gon and then got killed. So Palpatine's like, great, one chess piece off the board, and I can absolutely replace that other guy.
Right.
And then he comes back and finds out, like, oh my God, the plan has moved on without me. Like, what is my place in the universe? I know all these things that should have happened, and I was supposed to be part of them, but now I'm not part of them. Like, there's this whole identity crisis thing going on. So you never feel like, oh, poor Darth Maul. He just did his job. But at the same time, when you now introduce the question of like, okay, your entire life's work, your life's plan has been wrecked. Now what? And that's every chapter we get of his story from then on is like him trying to carve out a niche in a galaxy that was never supposed to have him in it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fascinating. Like in this one, I noticed, like, to your point, like he's not evil in a Sith sense anymore, but he's trying to fight fire with fire. Like his plan in this show is not like Kenobi, it's that was terrible. I know, I haven't warmed up, but it's all about Sidious. He wants revenge on the master who threw him away.
Yeah.
So it's bad guy on bad guy, but he doesn't know any other way to fight besides the way he was taught. So he's going to try to out-Sith the Sith, basically. And that's fighting fire with fire. It's never going to work. But it's fascinating because he always keeps like victory is within his grasp and it gets snatched away. He's always like just short. He's like Wile E. Coyote with the Roadrunner, right? Yeah. But he always like builds back again, but he keeps doing it in the same way. Like he's stuck and he keeps trying it. It's like, now he's like, okay, well, the Empire has risen. The Jedi have fallen. Maybe I can like pluck some Jedi that are still around and turn them bad to my side and make them assassins and weapons like Sidious did to me. And that's how I'll take down Sidious. I'll like out Sidious Darth Sidious. We know he won't, but he doesn't know that. And it's fascinating to see like how he bounces off of a world that he doesn't belong in and the effect he has on other characters. Because to your point, like he's the guy that doesn't change. So how do you keep it interesting? You show the Rock in the middle of a changing world. It's like, why does everybody love Steve Rogers in the Marvel universe? Because Steve Rogers never changes, but the world that he exists in changes around him. So Maul's the same way.
Way to put it.
Maul's the same way. He's like, all I know is to get angrier and hack and slash my way through a problem. So the problems keep changing, but I'm just going to keep hacking and slashing away.
Well, and I dude, you bring up an excellent point, because one of the things that I was going to say that I love the most about the show is, the fact that you get the standard Maul, I'm the bad guy, I'm going to do the crime syndicate shit. So you get that aspect of the story, and then you get the the police aspect of it, which is like the whole bringing up new characters and all that kind of thing, which we'll get to in a minute, because that's one of my favorite parts of the show. But then you also get the Maul backstory, when he's going through the tunnel, and he's in that windstorm or whatever you want to call it, and he's seeing stuff from his childhood. There's like him and Savage, and it's like they didn't overdo the Maul part. Like it's almost like they understood, like as soon as you announce a show with Maul, yeah, as Star Wars fans were like, hell yeah, dude, let's just get Darth Maul kicking ass. Like, that'd be amazing, but it's okay. What else can you add to it? Like, what are we doing? Is it just going to be a side scroller 1980s video game where it's just all like, gutting people, like, or are we going to like add to this backstory? Like, and I thought the balance was absolutely awesome. Gail McLeish. So he's Captain Maul America. Nice.
Right. No, like it's like, to your point though, like the Emperor showed up so little in the original trilogy, and yet he loomed over all of it as a result. He was like the boogeyman, basically.
Yep. And so we all remember the Emperor from the movies, but we remember his contributions much more than we're actually on screen. And that's what makes that character so cool. And to your point, like, this is called Maul Shadow Lord, and yet Darth Maul is not the focus. It's not always told from his perspective, where we just see him scheming and doing stuff the whole show, and then like the cops show up every so often. It's like, nah, there's a story going on that Darth Maul is involved in, but we've got Lawson and the police, we've got the Empire showing up, we've got the Jedi, we've got whatever connections they make or have on Janix already. So yeah, you were saying like a lot of the new characters were something that you were really into. So let's talk about new stuff. Like, the best Star Wars stories in my mind always add something to the lore. Like it's something new and gives a jumping off point, so future stories can be told with whatever was added to the canon. So what struck you the most? Yeah, well, real quick to finish that last point, and then I will get to the characters. But what I wanted to say was, like, with Maul, like it was awesome, because when something's happening with Darth Maul in the show, you're like, ooh, what's happening with Maul? But then the cop story, or however you want to phrase it, would happen. Like, ooh, what's going on with that? It was such a great balance. They balanced it so well. And to that point, getting to your question, when you have characters like Two Boots and Detective Lawson or Officer whatever. We call him No Boots, by the way. Spoiler for the end of the show, but yeah. I don't know. Yeah, by the way, we're an hour in, so the spoilers are gonna happen, people. Yeah, so, yeah. Let's just rip the Band-Aid. Yeah. Yeah. You got 60 minutes to watch the show now. It's okay. Right. So yeah, like I loved, that was one of the things that stood out is, that's one of the things, like the shows or not. Like maybe you're not into Skeleton Crew, maybe you're not into Acolyte, maybe you're not into Ahsoka, whatever. Like, the new characters that they're bringing into these shows are very compelling. And, when you bring in like Lawson, like when they brought in the detective in like the first episode, I was like, oh, what is this? And then Two Boots, I'm like, oh, new droid. And he was cool, and you can, yin to yang, that Spybot, Darth Maul's droid. It's like, like they're introducing these, and he had Rook Cast, like, and now Rook Cast is not a new character. Am I wrong in saying that? First time appearing in motion. Okay. That was a character that was introduced in the Son of Dathomir comic. Okay. Which, I was going to say the name sounded familiar. Yeah. It's one of those characters that was written for a script for what would have been Clone Wars, but they canceled it. So they made a comic book of it instead. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, when you're bringing these characters in, and you and I have talked about this on the show, like we discussed, with the sequel trilogy, specifically Rise of Skywalker. You want to get to the end of the story, like what's going to happen, and they're still introducing characters. So like, all right, listen, what the fuck, Stephen King? Like, can we get to the point here? We don't, like God love it and everything, but you don't need, all these new people to come into the story. Like when you're trying to end it, like stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Star Wars occasionally is guilty of shoehorning too many new characters, new aliens, new. But I think in this show they do an exceptionally good job of bringing in characters that not only fit the story, they fit something where you're like, ooh, what's going to happen later? But they don't feel shoehorned in. They feel purposeful, I think is the way that I would phrase it. And they're not just, hey, look what we did. Here's a new thing, like, no, it's like, this is cool. Like Lawson's cool. Riley, starts out like, oh, it's just, the detective's son. No, that actually starts to mean, and then it really means something. It really means something. And they really bring emotional stakes into it.
Do you wonder like what Riley's mom's job is within the Empire?
I hope we find out, because I love that they didn't say anything except for, oh, she went to work for the Empire. I love that. That's one of my favorite parts of the show. I'm really glad you asked that. I love that they brought that up, and it wasn't just something that they beat into the ground after it came out that like she, they split up because she's like, well, I'm going to work for the Empire. And he's like, nah, F the Empire. Screw them. Like, I love the fact that all they said was, yeah, she, basically said, she went to work for the Empire. Mm-hmm. Like, that leaves it so wide open. And I love that. I was like, this whole show is great storytelling up until the end.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
And
we haven't even run down the cast yet, and not the cast.
Well played.
We still got Jedi to talk about.
Yeah, if you want to talk about Jedi, as long as we just jumped on cast. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is, to me, and maybe I'm wrong in this. This is the very first time, for me personally, in Star Wars history, that they have cast someone in a part that took me out of the story. And I'm talking all 50 years of me being a Star Wars fan, or 46 years, whatever.
It wasn't Jack Black and Lizzo?
No. I was like, yeah, that was ridiculous.
Wow.
It was like superfluous and stupid. Master Daki. The first second that character spoke, I was like, that's Serrano from Major League. That's the insurance commercial guy. That's the dude from whatever TV. Like, that guy, his voice is so unbelievably recognizable.
Wow.
That I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I just heard it and I'm like, man, because I love the character. But every time he spoke, I was like, damn. Like, that's that guy. And I've never had that in anything else with Star Wars. Even like with the most famous actors you could think of that have actually had cameos or appeared on screen, like, it didn't take me out of the Star Wars vibe. Master Daki's voice took me out of the Star Wars vibe. There's something about that guy's voice, like, what I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's the only time, literally the only time. So
that's surprising. I thought it would be Two Boots. Now, I'm a bigger nerd, but having watched the IT Crowd, and also he's also done voices in Star Wars previously. So right. I thought Two Boots would have been the one because, like I said, IT Crowd is one, and then he also voiced he was somebody in one of the Jedi games. It was either Fallen Order or Survivor. I forget which one. But he's played a droid before.
I definitely forget the guy's recognize name. It. Yeah. By the way, Jeff Caffrey, great to see you, man. He agrees. He says, I felt similar about hearing Haysbert, this Dennis Haysbert, speak. Hey, that's the president from 24. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that much is true. Yeah, Dennis Haysbert. Richard Ayoade?
Yeah, that's
Ayoade. I don't know
Kale
how
said,
you pronounce
yeah,
that.
but Ayoade was 0, so it's all there.
0, that's what it was. Yeah. I was gonna say, so he was definitely like he's been in Star Wars before playing a droid. I'm like, wow, that is a bold choice with such a unique voice to give him to two characters like that. They'd be like Anthony Daniels being like, hey, play someone who's not C-3PO but also a droid.
Right. Look at everybody. Sean Hines, the Vandalorian. Great to see you, bro. Hope you got tickets today. He says he should have been called Jedi Master Joe Boo. Okay, so Kale says it's IORD. IORD. Okay. IORD.
Okay.
Look, see, Kale's like the smartest of us all. He just phonetically just called. I love it. All right. So IORD was 0, and he's 2 boots. Okay. So, anyways.
Yeah. So you said that voice like took you out of it?
It's the only thing. I still love it though because the character's great. You know me. It's always great to see more Jedi. That's one of the things that I love that they're doing is that they're bringing. They're slowly leaking in like, hey, there might be a Jedi under that rock over there. Like I like that they're doing that. You know, I like that order. That. Yeah, because you know what? Because I love that it's not Order 66 wiped out every single goddamn Jedi. Like they're all dead. Fuck them all. Like we got them all. Like, you know, it's not, it's not like some atomic bomb on the Jedi Temple and every single one of them was there at the same time. And, like, no, like they're out there. I love that they're, and I love that it's not like there's pockets of like 100 of them. It's there's like 1 or 2. Like I like that. That's awesome.
There's been a lot of fan backlash on that because the what we're led to believe from the original trilogy is that it's just Obi-Wan and Yoda. That's it.
Right.
And actually from episode 4, it's just Obi-Wan. And then he's like, actually, there's one guy. There's one guy who's left. Turns out, well, there's also Ahsoka and Cal Kestis and Quinlan Voss. And, anybody that we need to write into a comic book because we need to make the prequel, the dark times seem more interesting. So they just keep inventing Jedi that, oh yeah, they survived too. Grogu. So some people are like, so you just invent a new Jedi that we've never heard of every time you want to tell a story between the prequels and the original trilogy, apparently. Okay.
I can
and you're right, like logically it makes sense. Like it's a vast galaxy, and they're like, yeah, there's like 10 people who slipped through our fingers that we, but Yoda didn't know. Maybe that's when you get like deep lore dives and bullshit, and we're not that show. So that's
right.
But it is a very handy writing device to be like, oh yeah, here's this Jedi you never heard of, but doesn't it make sense that you wouldn't have heard of all of them?
Yeah, but I also think you're not wrong. That it's like convenient, like, oh, now you're bringing this guy up. Now you're bringing this guy up. Like, yeah. But to me, I always look at it as, again, number one, I'm a fan. So I'm like, yay, Jedi, lightsabers. I actually, of all things, like, I got in an argument yesterday on Facebook.
You got in an argument?
Well, because some asshole posted a political thing about in a Star Wars group. And I was like, dude, like, stop. It was about fascism or something or other. And I was like, man, not the time and place. And he just launched him. He's like, and he says, so I guess you just care about pew pew and laser swords, huh? And I went,
do I need to get you that hat? There's a hat that actually says pew pew in the Star Wars font.
Yes, you do. Because I said, yeah, that's all I give a shit about, asshole. And if you want to talk politics, go post your political shit fucking elsewhere. All right? Fuck off with your politics. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about politics in Star Wars. Fuck yeah, I want pew pew and laser swords. That's why I come to watch Star Wars, because I'm turning CNN and Fox News off to watch Star Wars. Like, so yeah. So anytime there's more pew pew and laser swords. But yeah, like I've said it many times, I'm a huge fan of the whole aspect of the Force and the Jedi and all that. So I love that they're keeping it sprinkled in. I love that they're not, oh, here's 100 more Jedi. Like, I think it's cool. It's like, well, because to me, that's like the most important part of it. Because if you don't have Jedi and the Force and some of that mysticism, like there's only so far you can go with Rogue One and Andor. You know what I mean?
I love that there's variety. Some of those
Yes.
are Jedi exclusive, and some of those are the Force is something that seems like bullshit and snake oil.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, so yeah, I love that they sprinkle it in. I'm cool with it.
By the way, the Diodaki we're talking about here, it's up on screen right now. I want to talk about the design of this guy. I love the way this guy looks. Like he's a new alien, not a rehash from like some background alien of a movie or something. Like as soon as I looked at him, I was like, so he's kind of a turtle, but unlike the recent trend of he's just like, he's a turtle. They're like, no, it's actually like we started from I don't know this for a fact, but my eyeballs are telling me they started from a turtle and then they made it something else instead of like Jedi Survivor, where it's like, okay, well, that's just a frog who's standing on his hind legs, or Nubs or Nerbs, I forget which, Nubs, I think, from Young Jedi Adventures, where it's just a teddy bear. Like they don't even try to make it an alien anymore. They're like, well, what if an animal stood on its hind legs only? That's an alien. Like, no. Like I love the Diodaki was like, he had a look that was like, okay, well, I could see the real world influence, but it doesn't look like the real world thing.
Right.
Like I thought that was really cool, and I didn't even notice until the later episodes he had like stubble and stuff, like nice little details like that. And it almost seemed like, by the way, the image I just put up there, like his face markings were in most shots like very subtle, and then in broad daylight it was like, holy shit, that looks like makeup.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that, actually. I like this idea that maybe that's part of the creature's lore, is that like sunlight makes their markings like glow or radiate or something, right? Like, I like that guy from like day one, because I was like, okay, yeah, he's a little out of place, the same way Obi-Wan didn't really like fit in A New Hope. He was, clearly like from an earlier time, a more civilized era. And Diodaki was the same way. Like he's like, we got to do this, and Devin is like, boomer, unk. That's not the way things work anymore. And I love that. I love that contrast where there's value in his lessons, but he's also out of touch.
Yeah. I'm trying to disagree with like, oh, he's out of touch. He's this, like, to me, it's just a cool new Jedi. And
well, remember, like Devin was going to steal fruit in the first episode, and he's like, the kindness of strangers will sustain us.
Yes.
That sounds great, but it won't now.
But see,
she was right. Like, you can go begging all you want, but no one's going to help your ass.
But you know what I love about that, man, is like, look at Joseph Wren. We've learned AJ's a fan of characters sparkling in the sun.
Never have I ever seen Twilight, and I won't watch it for you, Joe.
100% agree. Yeah, I think what I like about Daki is that, like, I agree with you. Great character, great design. Even though, like I said, the voice was like kind of takes me out of it a little bit. I'm fine with it because I like the character so much.
Quick pause on the voice, by the way. Are you saying it was a bad voice, or is it just because it's too recognizable? Because I thought that voice suited the character perfectly.
Too recognizable.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought the delivery and the acting was spot on. It's just his voice is so distinct that it was like, Swamp Crash, like, like from something dark side, non-threatening black spokesperson. Yeah, I what I loved about that character is what I love so much about Captain America. And you brought up that character earlier in the show. as we've talked about, you're getting into the, Maul, like, it's not just super evil. It's like, oh, he has kind of a good side. There's some nuance to, and sometimes in the good characters, like, oh well, maybe there's kind of an a-hole in there a little bit. But with Daki, it was like, okay, that is your standard, stereotypical, prototypical Jedi, just 100% good all the way through. There's no gray area, and I love that. It's like Captain America. It's why Captain America is my favorite Marvel character. I like the fact that it's 100% good all the way through. Something about that just appeals to me. And you know me, I love the dark characters. We talk about horror movies. I want gore and disgusting shit. Like, I love the End of the Mist. I mean, like, things like that. But I love here and there. I just love a good guy who's good all the way through 100%. Give me that one ray of sunshine. And Captain America's like that, and Daki to me is like that. And I love that, because we really haven't had that in a while. Where you just got that, one shining character who's like, and I would say that you've had, I guess you've had it, but not of a character of this age. It's almost like another Yoda, where, Yoda pretty much is great all the way through.
Well, yeah, like Star Wars started in broad strokes, right? Like, we had archetypes. We had the guy in white that always makes the right choice, Luke Skywalker, versus the guy in black who just wants to murder everything, Darth Vader. Like, literally black and white. It was so unnuanced and simple. And ever since then, it's been like, well, let's introduce some shades of gray. Maybe Vader is sympathetic. Maybe Luke isn't as pure as we thought. And, it just keeps merging closer and closer, where you get Andor, where it's like, hey, guess what? The good guys did some stuff that was so heinous that they would have absolutely vilified the Empire for having done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And that's the world we live in. And that's why Star Wars has to evolve. And that's a whole other podcast that maybe not even on this show, but I like that idea of, like, Star Wars itself has become more nuanced. So then you get like a character like Diodaki or Maul, both of whom are very much stuck in their ways of, like, this is how I do things. I don't care what changes around me. I'm going to do it this way. And it's a great contrast to be like, okay, well, the world that Diodaki knows and the world that the Jedi thrived in doesn't exist anymore. So do you abandon what you believe in, or do you dig in even harder, because all you have left, pulling from Marvel again with Thor and Asgard, for example, if all you have is your culture because everything else has been wiped out, do you dig in harder, or do you adapt and lose who you are in the process?
Yeah. Excellent point, man. Excellent point. All right.
We got to jump to the end.
I was going to say, we're an hour and 20 minutes in.
This should have been a 3-hour podcast. We should have carved out time for this. It's a good indication of the quality of the show that we are having to rush through. We haven't even named some of the characters that were introduced in the show, and we're like, can we talk about episode 10 and the end of 9, please?
So run through a quick list of let's do a quick shotgun blast of characters. Go ahead, run through characters. We'll do like a 30-second yay, nay, cool, not cool.
Okay, thumbs up, thumbs down. So this will be great. You got to say it, of course, because there is an audio version of this podcast that's available 2 days early if you subscribe to our Patreon, but which is patreon.com/NHC podcast. Anyway, okay, first new character introduced, Diodaki. Thumbs up, yes?
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. Okay. So that's Jedi Master. Jedi Apprentice, Devin.
2 thumbs up.
Got another name. 2 thumbs up for Devin. Really?
Yes.
I was going to give 1 because resting bitch face.
But you know what?
It was so obvious that she was going to be enticable, like Ezra was in Rebels.
But I thought
she
it changed
had a
as the
shitty
show
look on
went
her
on.
face by default.
I thought the same thing the first couple episodes, and then it changed. So
I could endure a story about her and Diodaki prior to this one.
100%.
Why is she disillusioned while he still, maintains his Force and Jedi sort of path. But
God,
anyway, okay,
that's a whole other episode.
all right. So we're gonna call Rookcast a new character because this is the first time we've seen her in animation or live action. So Rookcast,
Thumbs up.
top Mandalorian right hand woman of Darth Maul. Okay, thumbs up. Yes, I like her too. I also got very much. I don't know if this is on purpose because I don't remember if she was shown without her helmet in the comic book. But did you get Rhea Ripley vibes? Like she looks like Rhea Ripley from WWE so much.
If I would watch, I know who Rhea Ripley is. If I watched it, I'm sure I would have. Now that you
Kale
mentioned,
does.
I'm like,
Everybody in Australia knows each other. So.
Right. I know who that is. So now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, she does. But I didn't immediately when I was watching the show because I, don't watch WWE. But yes, I will give you that one because as soon as you mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Okay. Now I'm gonna have to switch over to Google for a second because I need character names. But let's go with the ones that I can remember off the top of my head. How about the Dathomirian brothers, which was Scorn and Icarus?
I would say neutral. So 2 thumbs sideways. I'm fine with them. I felt like they really didn't do much. They seem like cannon fodder to me. They seem like cannon fodder to me.
Cannon fodder that you care about, though, right? Like they had enough character. They had a couple lines at least where it wasn't just like a stormtrooper, for example. Like random stormtrooper gets shot, you're like, I don't care.
No,
but they were like unique enough. I felt like when they got taken out, I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Especially knowing that they're kind of an endangered species. So.
Now, for me, I figured that the average fan who's not familiar with this would go, oh, those guys look like that main guy. Oh, they died. So I think people would just see him as kind of like, like I said.
By the way, fun trivia. Rookcast, voiced by Vanessa Marshall. Do you know who else she voiced?
Might be Hira Syndulla.
Yeah. And also played her in live action in Ahsoka. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, here's another Rebels connection. So, Icarus, the second of the 2 Dathomirian brothers to meet his fate.
On your way, like an eagle. Sorry, I had to do the Iron Maiden there for Kale.
Steve Blum. Do you know what character he voiced previously in Star Wars animation?
That would be Zeb.
Yes, and the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie.
How do I know all this crap from characters that I don't give a shit about?
Okay, how about this is not trivia.
Joseph,
this is just a name, by the way. Brander Lawson. 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. 1 and 1.
1 thumbs up. It's close to 2. I thought that was a. Oh, you're getting called out. Jeff Caffrey says she wasn't the live action Hera.
Oh, that's right. Oh, come on, who? Mary Weinstead. No, that's not the right name, but it's Ewan McGregor's wife. No, it's close to that. It's just not quite that.
AJ, is it red for Christ's sake?
Right.
That is a very old Drake family joke. Sorry, guys. That was
crazy.
Like 45 years in the making. Inside joke on the show here.
This is what sucks about having a live podcast is like we know this stuff if we just had time to think of it, but because we're on the spot.
But see, that's why I like our podcast because we sound so damn dumb, and people that actually are trying to listen, like yeah. See, AJ, you got it. Like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Yeah. I don't mind looking stupid. Like, cause like we're, Kale, look, it makes people like Kale feel awesome. Cause it like, he really gets to show that he knows his stuff, man. Flexes muscles. Right. He's like, no, it's this, like right off the top of his head, which is awesome, man. So I don't mind looking like a moron in front of people, All right. So anyway,
in the pantheon of droids, how about Spybot?
Dude, love it. That was so much fun right off the bat.
So you were okay with that? Like it was.
Oh yeah.
I felt like Spybot's voice is kind of like Chopper's, where there are times in which you can totally tell who's voicing the character and what they're trying to do.
Right.
Because he's like, some of it's gibberish and some of it is like English, but just under a lot of like synth. But yeah, when he sorry, spoiler again, when he got his, I was like, damn it.
Oh, yeah, I was too. I was like,
it's a good show when like the evil robot is the one you're like, oh, I didn't want the evil robot to die. It's like no one's sad when Megatron gets his in Transformers, but Spybot?
But
yeah, Spybot's a problem.
Yeah, R.I.P. Spybot. Exactly. All right. What about Riley Lawson?
Take him or leave him.
Yeah, I'm kind of sideways.
Like,
I don't dislike the character. I feel like he's there for like the emotional anchor, which is totally fine. I'll be interested to see if he has a little bit more to do in season 2.
I did like the contrast though, where he's basically portrayed as the same age as Devin, and then they're talking about like their experiences and how they would react to this situation that they're in right now.
Yep.
And like she was raised in the Clone Wars. She probably had a battalion or two underneath her command as like a preteen.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was playing shock ball. I don't know what the hell's going on with gunships firing at me and everything, but clearly we have different ideas of adolescence.
Right. Look at this, by the way. Joseph Friend. Soundwave is sad. Here's your Transformers reference.
Right, there you go.
And Jeff Caffrey says Spybot was voiced by David W. Collins.
Uh-huh. Yep.
We met that guy in the walkway between the convention center and the hotel at the end of Star Wars Celebration 2019. That was fun. That's the
awesome. Best part about going to Celebration, to tie back to the beginning of the show, is you just run into famous people, and if you know, you know, and if you don't, you just missed a celebrity opportunity right there.
Yep. And they're almost always amazing. I've heard some people had like a bit of an issue with some people, but for the most part, everybody I've run into, in fact, 100% of the people I've run into are awesome. But anyway, back to the character list.
All right, Ludi Vario. That's the stubby little gangster guy.
Oh, I know Vario. I like the character, so we'll go thumbs up.
I thought, like, in terms of the animation,
the little PP guy, it was almost like one of the aliens in the pod race in episode 1.
Yes, same race.
Yeah, trying. Well, I know it was, but it was just like trying too hard to, hey, check out this new alien. That species has always kind of taken me out of it a little bit. And I love episode 1. Don't get me wrong, but that was my only complaint. But otherwise, the character, I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm still trying to figure out why Maul's kept him alive. But again, there's a second season coming, so let's see what happens.
I think that's one of those cases where, like Jar Jar, works better in animation. Because to your point, like it seemed a little ridiculous in episode 1 to see that guy walking around, that pod racer.
Yeah.
Odie Mandrell, I think
so.
God, see, again, shit we know, but when on the spot, not so much.
Yes.
Unless it was Star Wars trivia, because the Aluminum Falcons had never lost. But anyway, yeah, right. But yeah, in animation, like I thought, like you can get like really caricaturish with his facial expressions, for example, and like just like I don't know, he had little quips and stuff. I love the way he voiced the character. Actually, I thought it was. You're allowed to get a little weird with a goofy looking character like that, and he did, but It didn't like stand out as like the cartoon amongst the real people, you know.
Okay, it did a little bit for me, but it didn't take away from it. I mean, dude, honestly, you know. I mean, I know you can keep going through characters. I will say this. There wasn't a single character that took me out of anything in this.
Let's talk about one of the best rehabs in Star Wars, though. Let's talk about the Inquisitors.
Why do we need to rehab Inquisitors?
Because both of these Inquisitors had been shown before and killed before, much like Maul.
Yeah,
and in cartoonish ways, like Marok showed up in Ahsoka, gets slashed by Ahsoka, and he's basically a green fart. So what was that? And then what the one we call the Crow was in Tales of the Jedi. I don't think you've seen that show on Disney.
No, but I know where he was from.
But yeah, Ahsoka. See, Ahsoka likes to kill Inquisitors apparently. So Ahsoka killed both of these guys, but later. So they both met their fate, and they both kind of dissipated into nothing, which implies they were dead already when they fought. So, again, kind of a joke. They're like, well, we're watching Inquisitors that we know die, so why do we care?
Oh, but so Maul,
but did you,
point of the show.
But did you have a problem? Did you ever think that like the Inquisitors were a joke in this show?
No, I love the idea of Inquisitors.
Like, I think
the same reason I like.
We're not going to go into Kenobi too much, but I think the Kenobi series did a lot of damage to the Inquisitors because they just seemed to be like inept. Like they made threats, but then whenever they were like put up against like a real problem, like a Jedi, then they got owned.
When are you going to stop?
But
when are you going to stop? Show me on the doll where Obi-Wan Kenobi touched you. Seriously. Every time that show comes up, like, honest to God, like, I want to know what the fuck Obi-Wan Kenobi did to you. Okay? Because because look, oh, you're like, oh, the Inquisitors came up against a Jedi and all of a sudden they suck. Well, yeah, shithead, because it's a Jedi. What the fuck do you think is going to happen? They're just supposed to mow down every Jedi? Like the Jedi are a bunch of bitches or something?
They're Jedi hunters.
So what? That doesn't mean they could kill them. They're not friggin' perfect.
They're exactly imperfect. The only stories we've been shown have been the stories where the Inquisitor fucking loses. They either run away or they die. Or they helicopter off and then their lightsaber explodes because that's not the way lightsabers work in the first place, so he deserved to. But anyway, that's another Rebels problem. Can we do a Why We Hate Rebels episode, by the way? If we want to get kicked off the VCN, let's just talk shit about Rebels always, all the time.
Well, but okay, it wouldn't be a Why We Hate Rebels. It's why we don't think it is nearly as good as most people think it is.
True. Okay, so anyway, I think the Inquisitors in this were menacing and scary, which is not something that either of these two Inquisitors had going for them prior to the show.
It's just a friend. Now you have to imagine the Inquisitors helicoptering away to the theme from Mary Poppins.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with you. I've always thought the Inquisitors, whenever they show up, are creepy. They're scary. They're intimidating because of the fact that all we've ever seen are a shitload of Jedi and like 2 Sith. But the Inquisitors represent, wait a minute, there's more dark side users, man. Like, that's okay. You know, like to your point, you're like, oh, well, they keep losing to Jedi. Well, yeah, but that's what they're supposed to do. Or they're supposed to beat them. It's like they are a worthy adversary. And I like the fact that, again, there's not, you know, like I said, I like that there's not this pocket of 100 Jedi. I like that there's not a pocket of 100 Inquisitors. I like that they're here and there. I like that they're there to represent the fact that, yeah, Order 66 happened, but there's still some cleanup to do.
You're a big fan of the Jedi games, for example.
Yes.
That's how you do Inquisitors right. Like every time an Inquisitor shows up in that game, you're pooping yourself a little bit. You're like, at least clenching, right? You're like, all right, there's a very good chance that I'm going to get stuck on this for a long time. Inquisitors are no joke. And then they show up like in the case of these two Inquisitors, they've been shown already as the first time we meet them chronologically in release order of the stories in which they appear, they die. In kind of like undramatic ways too. So to then use them in this series and have them be actually intimidating, that's one hell of a rehab.
Well, consider the source of their deaths, the shows. You know my thoughts about Ahsoka and Tales of the Jedi and all that crap. I was
Filoni said, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of those programs.
That show. Are we living in the Filoniverse? Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer is absolutely. Now, we predicted that, by the way. Nerfherder Council called it back in 2019.
We did.
Actually, it's 2021, but anyway.
Whenever the hell it was.
I don't know. So, I'll ask AI. It'll tell us.
We need another AI podcast. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Like, all kidding aside about whether or not we like how they, met their fate in the other shows. Yeah, I love the whole thing of the Inquisitors. And I agree with you that in this show that they were very intimidating. The only thing I will say is, like, I was kind of confused. Like, okay, here's an Inquisitor. He's not getting the job done. Here's Super Inquisitor. Like, okay, what? That to me was a little, okay. Like,
yeah, it's never been clear like what the hierarchy is there, right? Like we saw the infighting in Kenobi. See, there's no shit talk there. That's just a factual statement that, there were 3 Inquisitors in Kenobi and they didn't get along. But it's never been clear. Like if you're like the first brother or the 5th brother, is that like a hierarchy thing? Or is it just like, well, he got in ahead of you, so he's number 1 and you're number 5?
Yeah.
Is it like orders at Sheets, or is it more like
maybe it's like celebration tickets? Good luck with whatever order you get in.
Right.
Fucker.
I wish it was more like karate belts. I wish their lightsaber blades were like karate belts. Like, oh, your blade is brown. You're kind of a rookie. Shit. You got the dark saber? I'm so fucked.
I was gonna say they gotta do it in reverse, man.
Right.
Like
anyway, so this is all a prelude to the end of episode 9 and the beginning of episode 10, all of episode 10. Can we talk about the Vader problem?
Yeah. Yes, we can.
We purposely did not discuss this prior. We just agreed that this was a topic. So you go first.
Yeah, everyone. I've been getting texts all day from my Star Wars buddies going, dude, Maul, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, this show's great. And I just watched the final 3 episodes tonight. And when Vader came in, I was like, okay. First of all, when Dryden Voss came in, I was like, oh, yes. The only bummer was that Paul Bettany didn't voice him, but I really don't care, because I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm wondering, okay, well, how all of a sudden is, Voss seems to be above Maul in the show, but then how is Maul going to go above him, that's going to be cool to see. Anyway, so Vader comes in at the end of episode 9. I was like, okay, all right, cool. We got Vader. All right. But everyone's freaking out. So what's everybody freaking out about? What's going to be awesome in episode 10? Oh, it's more Darth Vader. I'm like, yeah, I've seen that guy a lot. I felt like it was completely unnecessary in this show. And I get that they're trying to show like Vader's the new apprentice, he's the old apprentice, whatever, whatever they're trying to do, but it's like, yeah, no. I've seen Vader. It's not surprising anymore. And this show doesn't need it. And I'm not saying they did this to like prop up a weak show, but anymore when they start bringing in characters like Vader, especially Vader, it's starting to feel like a crutch. It's like, oh, let's prop this up with Vader. Like,
okay.
And I don't think this needed it at all. I also don't think it took away from it. So I'm not saying like, oh, the show was great, now it's crappy because of Vader. And I don't think it was crappy to begin with, and then it got cool because of Vader. I was just like, wait, everyone's all pumped up about this because they brought Vader in. They brought Vader into a shitload of stuff. Like, this is not cool anymore. Huh. If Vader comes into stuff anymore, I'm like, no, all right, there he is again. That guy's fucking everywhere. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Apparently now we've got like Beam Me Up Scotty in Star Wars, because he's literally like underwater in the Jedi games, but now he's with Maul, and now he's with this person and that guy and this, like okay, cool. All right.
See, this is why we don't discuss things ahead of time, because I love that. I have an entirely different topic of the Vader problem.
Okay,
but let's talk about yours. So the whole crux, I think the reason people are losing their minds is because, without realizing it, except for when Qui-Gon tells Anakin to duck in the desert of Tatooine in episode 1, Anakin and Maul have never crossed paths. So that alone it's one of those weird coincidences where you're like, wait, how have they not? Like, we had the Clone Wars and we had the entire prequel trilogy, and Anakin and Maul had never met face to face. So I love that. I love that whole thing. And I told you before, like my fan canon version of the prequel trilogy would be Maul survives until Anakin turns to the dark side willingly and fights Maul for the position of apprentice. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Like, I'm like, oh shit, Maul versus Vader. Okay, let's go. Obviously, you know that Vader's got to win, but knowing that they've already written Maul's exit from the galaxy, he can't die. So, okay, how do you write that? I love that problem, actually. But yeah, once Maul and Vader square off, here's my issue. The evolution of lightsaber duels. Prequels introduced this acrobatic, much faster version of lightsaber duels because, George Lucas famously said in interviews before, like, he envisioned it like a broadsword. Like, it's a big, heavy, clunky thing. You need two hands to wield it. And only people who have two hands and also a mastery of the living energy of the galaxy on their side can actually get this thing to move around and act like a weapon. And then that evolved over time and it became faster and more acrobatic. And so by the time you get to episode one, even faster, more intense. Exactly. So episode 1 was, holy shit, we've never seen lightsabers like this before. And then that escalated to episode 3, where you get crazy bonkers bullshit on Mustafar between Kenobi and Anakin. So then when you got to put a prequel era character versus, like, let's walk it back a little bit to like Rogue One era Darth Vader, because the first time we see Darth Vader in his suit wielding his red lightsaber, it's slow and kludgy as hell because he's fighting an old man. He's fighting Kenobi, right?
Yeah.
In the twilight of his years and diminished skills. So it was okay. We're like, all right, well, it's slow and shitty because Vader's toying with him, whatever. But whatever you see Vader doing with the lightsaber, even in Rogue One, you're like, all right, well, it's a bunch of nobodies in a hallway who couldn't kill him with a sword. If you had a sword that could block everything coming at you, and they didn't have anything to block anything coming at them, yeah, of course you're going to murder the hell out of them. So the Vader problem for me is you need to make him look like he is unstoppable, but you've seen people do so much more impressive things than we've ever seen Vader do before. How do you reconcile that? That's my Vader problem.
Okay. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Because you got Darth Maul, who's got one saber that becomes a double-bladed lightsaber, which was a holy shit moment in 1999. And then we find out, oh, it can split into two sabers. So now we've got dual lightsabers, which was a thing that wasn't a thing in the original trilogy. So you got a guy that moves way faster and can either have two ends of a lightsaber or two separate lightsabers at once. And then you've got the guy who's moves slow as shit like Frankenstein's monster and only has one lightsaber. Well, and yet he's the guy that you can't defeat.
Well, and that's my issue. And again, thankfully I'm remembering my notes from, what I had on my phone. I brought it over. Why is it that sometimes Vader is like absolutely like impervious and just like fighting a mountain, and other times it's like just a couple swipes and he's like you've thwarted him? He's like the ultimate video game character where you run into him in like the first couple missions as like an end boss and you just damage him a little and he runs off like, oh shit, I'm out of here, fuck this.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the game, you have to spend like an hour and a half just whacking away at him, like hacking at him like you're chopping down a tree, and like, like it just takes forever to like beat him down. Like, and that's the one thing I noticed. I'm like, okay, what is it with Vader? Which one are we getting here? So, and I know like the super nerds will, people super nerdier than us have a great answer. I don't have it. By the way, speaking of super nerds, this is kind of a good point, but I want to get your take on this. The Vandalorian, Sean Hines says Anakin saw Maul when he was fighting Qui-Gon. And I said,
yeah, he was in the ship at that point.
Well, but did he see him? We knew he ducked.
And then he saw him in the hangar of the Theed Palace as well.
Okay, but did he look at him? See, this is where we can get into the nitty gritty.
But as far as like, has Anakin ever, when he was a Jedi, Padawan or otherwise, ever faced Maul? And the answer is no.
Yeah, true. By the way, this is awesome. Jesse Cole, great to see you. He says, just read that Vanessa Marshall was given her choice on how Rook Cass dies, and she chose Vader rips her lungs out through her mouth with the Force. So that's what happens off screen at Vader's entrance.
Oh God!
This is why I
want. Speaking of your
gore,
sound effects,
this is why I want gore and nasty shit in my movies. I want to see that. But anyway,
see, fun trivia about your sound effects. They did use a movie sound effect. They used the neck cracking of Vader force choking Admiral Ozzel.
Oh yeah,
for the sound of Rook Cast meeting her fate.
Yes. All right, so good call, by the way. I'm trying to stay on topic since we're getting near the end of the show. Yeah, I'm with you with Vader.
This is the problem with Vader in general, right? One, he's indestructible because the story demands that he must survive to, be in the movies. And his abilities were defined in an era that was much less intense, for lack of a better term. So you've got a guy who's not as impressive, but he's got to beat everybody who's more impressive ever since. It's like when Hulk Hogan comes back, not anymore, thankfully, but every time an old wrestler comes back from a previous era, and we've all seen like better matches since then, but all of a sudden this dude who hasn't shown up in 20 years is like, well, every punch I land is going to knock you on your ass. Like but we've seen people take like a dumpster to the forehead and then they come back and win the match. So why is your punch the thing that puts me down forever?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like Vader's either like completely, unstoppable or a couple quick swipes and you're like, wait a minute, wasn't he more kick-ass the last time I saw him? To your point. And for me, it's just a little bit of overkill. I mean, it's just, and again, I don't think this show did that. It's not like, okay, there, the show is saved by showing Vader. The show is great, and if Vader wasn't in it, it would still be great. I'm sure it amplified it for fans that love to see Darth Vader, so that's cool. Totally fine. I just think it's like again, I like when Vader came in, like literally at the end of episode 9, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then when it was all episode 10, I was like, we're doing this again.
Did you feel like Vader showing up in this show was like Palpatine showing up in Rise of Skywalker? Like there was a whole other story going on, and then they're like, but here's this original trilogy guy.
God, that is difficult.
I was good with the entire show. I don't think that, as much as I have been waiting to see Maul and Vader face off, I don't think this show needed Vader facing off against Maul.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's kind of what I was trying to get across, is that, like,
especially if there's going to be a second season, and it sounds like they knew that when they were making it.
Yeah, I mean, having Vader in it for me doesn't take away from it, but it also doesn't add anything. I was fine with the story where it was going, and if I don't know. And in a way, I have to be honest, like, now that I'm thinking about it, it almost kind of cheapens Maul.
Like, I gotta actually say something nice about Rebels for a change. The end of season 1 was.
Nope, we don't do that on the show. You can take your positive Rebels comment and you can go away. Are you done?
But
you done?
Yeah. So the Grand Inquisitor was the big bad of season 1 of Rebels.
I thought he was done, but he's not done. You can come back on the show when you're done with that drivel. There are a few good episodes of Rebels. You know this. There will be no Rebels positivity tonight.
I was merely reporting facts. I wasn't saying anything positive.
All right.
There's a difference.
Joseph Wren, he with his more Sabine, because they share the same last name. Nice.
The
More
Grand
Sabine,
Inquisitor,
please.
but the Grand Inquisitor was the big bad of season 1. And then Kanan defeated him, and he's like, there are things far scarier than death, whatever. I'm going to yeet into this hyperdrive. Okay.
Into this hyperdrive.
Well, then Vader showed up after that. So if you've already brought Vader into the story of Maul Shadow Lord, how the hell are you going to raise the stakes in episode 2, season 2?
I mean, Joseph Wren, he asked the question. So they're setting up the ending of the show to be Maul versus Palpatine then? I mean,
but again, you can't kill him that way because he's got to survive to go meet his fate versus Obi-Wan in the desert of Tatooine.
See that? Okay, so and we'll get out of here, please, because we're over time and we try not to go too long on the show, but we're going along tonight. That part doesn't really bother me because I think we're finally at a point where we're being told stories about characters where we already know where it ends, and so it's like you can't really just stop and say, "Well, we know this person's going to die, so let's not say shit about him." You know,
but the difference is with Vader and Maul, they've never squared off. So that's new. But we have seen Maul and Palpatine. That was in season 5 of the Clone Wars. And it was amazing. And if you haven't gotten there yet, you need to watch your Clone Wars. God damn it.
I've tried. It hasn't grabbed me. Sean Hines.
Okay. Sean Hines is right.
When Vader be repeatedly swinging those heavy robotic arms, making it hard to block. Nice.
No, Master Diodaki met his fate. I keep saying that phrase, but I love it. It's very poetic. Anyway, yeah, like Vader just slashing at him, just hacking him down, wearing him down over and over again. It was very much like Luke in Return of the Jedi, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I love that callback. I thought that was cool, and it's just brute force. Just this idea of like every time Vader swings his saber, it's like a brick wall being thrown at you.
Yep.
So I got that part. And yeah, especially with all the fighting and exhaustion that the Jedi were under. Yeah, Vader just outstronged him. Okay, I buy into that. But the Vader Maul thing, I'm like, I don't know where the show goes from here to up the stakes. We have so many other future chapters of Maul already defined. Like, how do you up the ante or reveal more layers of the character in subsequent seasons?
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I will say this, and I think I've said this about other stuff that they've written recently. I have faith in where they're going to go with it. I think, you know, most of the recent Disney Plus stuff has been excellent in terms of writing. I think there's a lot of twists and turns you don't expect. And, you know, this show in particular, as I said earlier, you know, we'll wrap up shop on this one. You know, I think that this is extremely well written. And I think it's, you know, it's just it's perfectly well done. And I think that they will find a way to do it to where we're not going to be like, seriously, like, as much as I said, you know, and you said, we don't need Vader in this. I feel like they've built up enough nerd cred with me where I'm like, okay, they're going to find a way to write themselves out of this to where it's awesome and it makes sense. And it actually adds to the bigger story. Cause I really think they've been doing an excellent job in that respect with the writing recently, even on things I don't like. You know, as much as, you know, we're not Rebels fans and I'm not an Ahsoka fan, you know, what they've done with it story-wise makes sense. It's fun. Some of it's really stupid to me, but I can understand why fans like it and why it does make sense. So I trust them. So I think this is going to a cool place. Yeah. So my final thoughts, by the way, I loved it. I thought it was a great show. I thought it was better than we hoped it would be. I know at least for me, we're like, new Star Wars show coming next year, Maul. I was like, fuck yeah, Darth Maul. Like, and this did not disappoint. In fact, it far exceeded my expectations. I love what they did with the story. I love the characters. Literally my biggest complaint is the Vader thing. Just like, I don't think we needed him. And when your biggest complaint is, oh, I got Darth Vader, I would say Star Wars is doing something right. So,
yes.
How about you? Final thoughts?
I was hyped for the show anyway because I'm a big Star Wars animation honk anyway. So I had high expectations walking into this, even though people were saying like, what is compelling about a show about a villain, especially when we know how they, die anyway. So I was one of the few people that was hyped for the show from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pleasantly surprised by all the new things they added to the lore and also the additional nuance that they gave to the characters we already knew about. So, but even Vader, as much as we just spent a whole block of time talking about how Vader didn't need to be in this, the idea of like showing the contrast between like, here's the new guy versus the old guy. And that idea of like, well, one was like a scalpel, Darth Maul, like he was well trained and had like technique, and Vader is just like a blunt instrument. Like, I'm just gonna bulldoze through everybody because I'm angrier and stronger than you are.
Right.
Like it was a great way to pit the two eras of Star Wars against each other in a way that made sense. So I think in general, it's the best version of Star Wars of any story where you get new stuff. You also have jumping off points for other characters. We talked about that tonight. And it feels like it fits and adds to the canon that you already know. So even though it's a chapter in the middle of other chapters, it feels like if you didn't see this, you'd be missing a part of the story.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent way to describe it, man. That's perfect. So on that note, why don't we close up shop? I really don't have anything to add to that, man.
There we go.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Nerfherder Council. For those of you guys who may be newcomers to the show, thanks to tuning in from the Virtual Cantina Network. Hopefully you guys had a good time. We are at all of our broadcast locations every other Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Our next show will be on Wednesday, May 20th. Got to figure this out because that's like the day before we're seeing Mandu and Grogo. I think
we got enough. We got enough about that movie to talk about like beforehand. I love our episodes where we try to predict stuff and end up very wrong.
Although we have gotten some things very right. So I'm kind of proud of that. Like as stupid as we are, every once in a while we've gotten something right. So even some of our dumbest ideas have come to fruition. But take that however you want. But yeah, in any case, yeah, so we will be right back here at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, May 20th. Again, guys, we are on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. We are on the Nerfherder Council Twitch page. We are also on the Facebook page and YouTube channel of the Virtual Cantina Network. If you are on either of those YouTube channels and have not done so, please remember to click the like button, click the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. Guys, we are brought to you by Audible. You can go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. If you would like to get awesome Virtual Cantina Network swag, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina, and you can customize any manner of Nerfherder Council swag you can think of at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. So guys, again, we will be right back here in 2 weeks, and guys, when we're here in 2 weeks, it'll be on the eve of the first Star Wars movie we are all going to get to see in theaters in 7 fucking years. AJ, how awesome is that?
Fans are eating good, man.
well phrased, man. So
we got a great series, and now we got a movie to look forward to.
Yep. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, guys. To all you guys, hopefully all of you watching or listening to this managed to land yourself some Star Wars Celebration tickets. Hopefully we will get to meet you at Star Wars Celebration next year in Los Angeles, California. We're easy to find. Just look for the drunken guys acting like total fools and arguing about Kenobi.
It's not descriptive. It's not descriptive.
With us, it is. Believe me, people have hung out with us.
Oh, wait. Look for the guys near or in their 50s that are white and overweight. Shit. Okay. We got to come up with something more descriptive.
You just ripped on me, dude. You're a CrossFitter. You're in shape. I'm the chubby fuck. Way to go.
Still overweight. There's a reason I'm shot from the neck up.
Oh, shut up, man. Good Lord. Guys, if we could stand up right now, you'd be like, why is AJ complaining? Look at that slob. Wait a minute. Is JT still standing up, or is that just his t-shirt? Or did he put a red curtain in front of the screen?
Look, I've just noticed that the chrome on my belt buckle has been burnished to the underlying metal by my own belly. So it just means I need to buy belts more often.
Oh, my God. I'm not even going to continue with that. To a dark place.
Dump out. Dump out.
Dump out. Dump out. Oh, my God. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Nerfherder Council. As always, I am your host, JT. He is AJ.
At Drake Adams 579 on Twitter, and I'm not proud of that.
There you go. Thanks to all you guys in the chat. Kale McLeish, Sean Hines, the Vandalorian, Joseph Wren, our very good friend Chastity, Jeff Caffrey, all you guys, great to see you. And as always, guys, we will see you next time. May the Force be with you, and see you at Star Wars Celebration.